Hi, I'm Benny Marks. I'm the Environmental Science Fellow for the 2023-2024 year, and today I'm going to be going over our SWMN water sampling training. So SWMN is our community water monitoring network that takes place every second Thursday from May to October, and we have volunteers go out and sample for different water quality workers. So we're going to kind of go through what that looks like. So for the agenda for this meeting, we're going to start off by talking about the safety procedures, then the supplies that volunteers should bring, then the water sampling procedure, physical observations, and sample drop-off. So, safety procedures. Wear bright colored or reflective clothing. So, I know just so to help people see you, in May, it can be something that kind of slips our mind because it's super sunny out and all of the cars that are driving around can see you, all of the other people can see you, because it's sunny in the morning at 6 when we're sampling. But in October, it's going to be really dark out when you start sampling. So in the board, just kind of get in that habit of wearing bright colored and reflective clothing to make sure that people and cars can see you while you're out sampling. Always make sure to be sure of your footing and go slow. So if you're like walking down the bank to a river, just want to make sure that you're have very solid footing and you're not moving too quickly to minimize the risk of falls. Bring a flashlight along when it's dark. Again, might not be too much of a problem in May and the kind of earlier sampling months, but as we get towards those kind of winter months where it's going to be darker, bring a flashlight along. I know a lot of us have flashlights like on our cell phones, but it always helps to bring kind of a battery operated flashlight. So if it does happen to fall in the water, you didn't lose your entire phone. Always make sure to let someone know where you're going and when to expect you back. Which is always helpful anytime you're going to go be outside. Um, just in case something happens, that someone knows exactly where you'll be and exactly when you'll be back, or when you'll check in with them again, so that everything went smoothly. Always wear gloves when collecting your samples. So we're going to provide everyone with latex gloves. And this serves a dual purpose of protecting all of our volunteers from any contaminants that might be in the water that you're sampling, and also protecting our samples from getting contaminated from anything that might be on the volunteers' hands. We want to make sure that our volunteers are as safe as possible and that our samples are as representative of the water as possible. So never use your sampling cooler to store food or beverages. So everyone will, after you collect your sample, need to put it in a cooler with ice. And that cooler should only be used to store our samples because our samples have bacteria in them. That's why we are collecting these samples, to measure that bacteria. And you don't want to mix that with anything that you might ingest, like food or beverages or any other reason might put something in a cooler. You should have one completely separate cooler that is for the samples. And always make sure to keep 2 feet planted on the ground. This can come up for those of you who use a bridge buddy. If you want to maybe like get on like tiptoes or something to kind of better reach over the bridge and dunk the bridge buddy in. And even those of us who are just going right to the bank and sampling that way, just always want to make sure that we have 2 feet firmly on the ground to minimize falls. So now we're going to go over the supplies. So we have different sampling bottles. We have this bottle with a red cap, which is only going to people who use bridge buddies or poles. And this will help for water observations. So just to like get the sense of the clarity and odor in the water. And this will help get temperature of the water. So they'll fill this with water, put a thermometer in, and then get the temperature of the water. And these do not need to be returned. They can be dumped out and stored with the bridge buddy. And we have the smallest bottle, just the bacteria bottle. They have plastic on top. You can see that. So that they are sterile. And so what you will do is you will rip off the plastic, open the bottle, and then it will be a passive fill, and there'll be a slide that shows what a passive fill is. And you put the lid back on. We have the largest bottle, which is for nutrients. Amber bottle, they're always kind of this brown color. We'll let you know if for some reason they're a different color. They look like this. They don't normally have a rubber band on them. We have the medium filmy bottle. So this is what they look like. On the top, it says filmy. So you want to fill this one all the way. So you need your sampling bottles, gloves, latex gloves that'll be provided, field data sheet and clipboard. We're going to go through and show you what the field data sheet looks like, and a clipboard for writing, filling out the data sheet, and a pen, black ink pen, blue ink is also fine, but stick to one of those two colors, please. A cooler with ice. So that cooler, that's only for sampling bottles with ice. This can be ice cubes, this can be ice packs. You could even fill up like an old juice bottle or like soda liter, fill it with water, freeze it, put it in, just ice somehow. A thermometer will also be provided. So please use the thermometers that NepRWA provides you. Those are specifically calibrated and used for swimming. If you use your own thermometer, we won't be able to rely on that data, and we will know because in the data sheet, it has a place where you write in the thermometer number. So if you don't write in a thermometer number, we'll know that you weren't able to use one of the provided thermometers, and then we can't use the data that you collected. So please use an NepRWA thermometer. And if you are sampling at a site where you can't physically get down to the bank to sample, get down to the water to sample, you will be provided, or you already have, for those of you who have sampled with us before, a bridge buddy or a sampling bowl. So always want to bring that to your site because otherwise you won't be able to access the water. And if you plan on doing a flow test, bring a yardstick and a timer. So these flow tests aren't necessary, but if you would like to do them and you are able to do one and you like know how to do it, I'll explain it a little bit, then we will happily gather that data. But I know some places aren't always able to complete a flow test for various reasons. Don't forget to wear reflective clothing and bring a flashlight when it's dark. The reflective clothing is very important. We want to make sure that everyone is able to be seen by cars and by passersby, right? So let's go into the next slide. So this is what the top of the water sampling sheet, water quality field data sheet will look like. I'll probably say 2024. So the monitor name is where you write in your name. So I would write in Benny Marks. The date is the date where you take the sample. So the date can be pre-filled because we know all of our sampling dates already. So if when you receive all of your sheets, you want to write in all of the sampling dates, that's fine. Arrival time. So this is the time that you arrive to your site. End time is the time you leave your site. Site ID will be provided to you, always written on the bottles. So this one, if you could see the Sharpie, try to hold it in front of me. Sharpie's right here. It's PTB 035. So I would get this bottle, look at it, and see the Sharpie. And that's the site ID that you would write in, one kind of character per blank. Site description is going to be a description of where you are. So in this example, I wrote HAB 011, so that's Osbrook. And so my site description for that site would be near the pond across from the vet in Norwood. All right, something kind of more qualitative that tells us where you are. And then the weather is also kind of a subjective description. Is it clear, partly cloudy, overcast, drizzle, rain, snow? So whatever is happening with the weather. So you write clear or whatever is accurate, and is nearby pavement wet? So we're using this as a measure to understand if it has rained recently. So if you are looking at nearby pavement, it doesn't look like it has recently rained. So you can write yes or no, fill that out. This gray section here for office use only, you can ignore that as it says it's for office use only. So just please don't write anything in that box. So morning arrival, this is what will happen when you get to your site. First, you want to make sure that it's after 6 a.m. So as soon as it turns 6, you can start sampling, but you cannot sample until it is 6 a.m. You also want to remember to take your thermometer out and acclimate it to the air temperature. You don't want it to be sitting in your car, for example, and then, heat up or cool down depending on like what your air conditioning is doing. That'll kind of throw off the temperature. So you want to make sure that, you acclimate it to the air so that you're kind of getting an accurate reading of what the temperature is. Make sure you put on your gloves before sampling. Okay, yeah, put on your gloves before sampling. So all of the site sheets say what your sampling should look like. If it's direct fill, if you use a pole, if you use a bridge buddy. So direct fill should have water that passively flows into the bottle. So the bottle like this, right? And the water, so in this case, if we're going to passively fill this, the water will be flowing this way, right? Water goes like this. This, if the water's flowing into the mouth of the bottle, that's going to allow for things like leaves or anything else that's on the surface of the water to be collected, and that's not what we want. So you want a passive fill where the water's kind of flowing past the bottles and to kind of get the best sampling method. So you're going to start with the bacteria bottle first, the bottle that has the plastic on top, the smallest bottle, and you're going to leave a 1/2 inch of headspace. So you're going to fill it to the shoulder of the bottle. Then you're going to use the nutrients bottle after that, and then you're going to put it right on ice, right into your cooler with ice. And then also fill this right to the shoulder, right into the cooler with ice. And then you're going to do the pH bottle last, all the way. No headspace, as close to the top as you can get it. So it says fill me on top because you want to fill it as full as possible. Gonna want to make sure to not touch the inside of the bottles or their caps. So when you're opening it, you just want to be very careful, only touching the side, not sticking your fingers in the lid. And then you screw it back on, the same thing. So because this one's full, I want to kind of keep it upright. I had it sideways. That will just spill the water out. Keep it upright and only touch the sides. If your fingers do touch the inside of the bottle, that can contaminate the sample and also potentially get on your hands or on your skin somehow, and that could not be good for you because we are, again, testing these waters to see the bacteria and different things that are in them, so we don't want that to get on your skin unnecessarily. Put on ice immediately after filling. You want these to go into the cooler as soon as possible so we can have the best quality sample. So if you use a bridge buddy, you're going to do a similar process, but not the exact same. So you're going to start off with triple rinsing the bridge buddy. So you're going to be kind of leaning it over the side into the water, and you're just going to dunk it in the water 3 times. And then you're going to sample from the downstream side of the bridge if possible. So you will put the bottles in as pictured so that they are at the same level, so that their lids are at the same height. So they fill at the same time. So you can see, not like this, where they're sitting at the same place, but so the lids are at the same height. And put them in, you're going to sample from the downstream side. So these fill at the same time, then when they're full, you'll take them out. And then you do the temperature bottle and the other bottle. So that should actually probably look like these two. Okay, in the same order as before. So pH, the small one, the amber one, the medium one, and the temperature one. So put them in like this. and then these two. And you're going to use the red one with the red lid for your observations and for temperature. If you use a pole or an arm extender, triple rinse that as well, and do them in the same order, starting with the smallest bottle, then the amber bottle, then the medium bottle, pH bottle, and then your observation bottle or your temperature bottle, the one with the red lid. That's the best order to do it in. So you might have a duplicate sample. This doesn't happen to everyone every year, but you might have a duplicate sample, which means you are going to take 2 samples and you'll get another set of bottles. One will have your normal site ID and one will say dupe. So they are collected to make sure that the sampling method is working properly. And so when we read out the values or get them back from the lab, we'll know that like the dupe, can't see this says dupe, and PTB 035, for example, if I was taking a duplicate of that site, we would get the same values for the pH both times, for the nutrients both times, and for the bacteria both times. So you'll collect 2 of each sample, bacteria, nutrients, and pH, and you will have 2 bottle sets. So you'll have 6 bottles in total. So collect a pair of samples at the same time. If you have a bridge buddy, so you'd put 2 amber bottles on or 2 sterile bottles on the bridge buddy at once. And then so you can fill them at the same time, making sure they're again at the same height. So their mouths are at the same height. And if you are doing direct fill, you're going to want to do it one after the other. So if you're taking duplicates and doing direct fill, you would do you do small bottle number 1 and then small bottle number 2. And then you would do amber bottle number 1, amber bottle number 2. Then you'll do the medium bottle number 1 and then number 2. You won't do them one set at a time because you want to make sure that we are getting these samples as similar to each other as possible. So both pH samples should be as close to the same as they can be. So that's why you want to do them as close to the same time as possible. You only need to fill out one data sheet. We will know if you took a dupe. We have records of that. So we'll know. It'll be the same arrival time and same leave time because you'll have done the duplicate sample. So you only need to fill out one. So that last time we saw the sheet showed us the top, but then this is kind of the middle, sampling information. So you start with your sampling method. In this example, it's a bridge buddy. You're just gonna, check X, just mark that's what you did. And you're gonna write where you sample from. So if you have a bridge buddy, you can do the upstream side or the downstream side. The downstream side is preferred. If you are doing direct fill, stream side or pond, same with the pole. Are duplicates being taken? So if you have 6 bottles, yes, duplicates are being taken. And if you only have 3, no, duplicates are not. Just check that off. Some people miss this line, but try and check and fill it out. And then you will write down the time that you took your samples. So bacteria should be first. Smallest sterile bottle. So maybe you did that at 6:17. And then you were fast and you got your nutrients also at 6:17. And then you did your pH at 6:18. After that, you're going to fill in the were samples iced immediately. You have to fill this in. It should always be a yes. If it's a no for any reason, just please check no. And then we will know that those samples were iced immediately and we can record that. But you should always try to do it as soon as you can. They should be iced immediately after you take them. And if you don't fill in anything, if you don't write yes or no, I will reach out to you that day and ask you if you ice them or not. So I will email and then I will call So if you want to prevent that, you can just check yes or no, whatever is accurate. These are the two that are most often missed, so we just want to make sure that we're highlighting them so that we make sure they are missed less often in the future. So going on to the physical observations, the temperature. So this is an example of what the thermometers could look like. We're going to get digital thermometers, which are typically a little easier to read, but right now we are still using this kind of thermometer. So this is what's in the picture. We have the label, so what you'll write in for the temperature, 2019-12, for example, written in Sharpie on the side of the thermometer. This is just an example. Everyone's number will be different. And then the temperature. So this is 21.5 degrees maybe. And then you'll just write in kind of your best approximation of what the temperature is. You can either, you're going to start by taking the air temperature because you're going to be taking that thermometer out as soon as you get out of your car and acclimating it to get an accurate temperature for the air. And then you'll be doing a water temperature. So if you are sampling with a Bridge Buddy, you can stick it in this observation container, the red lid, just stick it right in, and then you'll read out the temperature once it has kind of stabilized. If you are doing a direct fill, then you can just hold it in the stream and then read a temperature once it has stabilized. And you're going to round to the nearest half degree. So it should be 21.5, 22, 22.5, something like that. It's kind of hard to see if you wanted to get something like 22.75 or 22.1. So we really just want it, kind of half degree. So 0.5 or 0.0. Through the physical properties of water section on the data sheet. So we have the thermometer number, the air temperature in Celsius. So all of our thermometers read in Celsius. So that's another way that we will know if you aren't able to use a NepRWA thermometer, because a lot of them are in Fahrenheit. So if we see something that's way too big to be a Celsius temperature, then we will know, and we'll just kind of have to flag that data. Water temperature in Celsius with the same thermometer. And then water clarity, color, and odor. Again, some more subjective measurements. You can just check off which one is most accurate to what you are experiencing. So if the water's clear, clear suspended particles, slightly cloudy, cloudy, or other. Water color, clear, weak tea, strong tea, greenish, blackish, other. Water odor, none, earthy, rotten eggs, petroleum, or asphalt, other. And just check off which one you think is closest to what you're experiencing. And then depth and velocity data. So this is where you might bring a yardstick if you are able to kind of access that. Some sites have depth gauges, but not all of them. So only collect this data if you are able to. If you are not able to, that is understandable. So depth in inches, 14 inches. Staff gauge height, if applicable, if there is one. If there isn't, that's fine. And then the distance used for float tests. So this is why you might bring a yardstick or something else to kind of help you measure. So you're going to want to have something like a leaf and then time how long it takes to float a certain distance. So if you used your distance is 10 feet, you put the leaf at the beginning, you have your timer, and it took 10 seconds to travel for your first trial. For your second trial, maybe it took 11 seconds, and for your third trial, it took 10 seconds. You would kind of write that in, so we know that this is moving at about a foot a second. Foot and a half per second. And if you are unable to measure depth or flow, you can just check off these boxes, just so we know that you weren't able to measure it. So moving on to sample drop-off, we have 4 drop-off locations, one in Walpole, Norwood, Canton, and Milton. My Zoom is covering up the Milton Star, but I know it's over here somewhere. But the Milton one's by the police station. So for those of you who can't see it on this. And listen, be sure you have to get to your drop-off location before 7:30 so that you get there by 7:30 and then they get to us by like 7:45, 8, and then we can send our samples off to the lab. So You're going to get labels from your drop-off coordinator, and they will help you to affix them to the proper bottle. You're going to get 2 labels. One's going to have an S on them. You can think of S for small or S for sterile, and it'll go on the smallest bottle with the plastic on it. And then one will not have an S on it. It goes on the amber bottle. So place your labeled samples in the cooler. There'll be 2 coolers at your drop-off location. Place your samples in the cooler and your data sheet in the folder at the drop-off location. The drop-off coordinators will be able to help you with all of this. And then take your bottles for the next sampling event. So this will look like you will get out of your car with your samples, you'll bring them over to the table. Some people like to wipe them off with a paper towel, just wipe off the outside so that the label can be affixed better. You're going to write the time that you took your earliest sample on the sticker and sign your name and the date. And so I think in this example, it was 6/17. So you'd write 6/17 on the label for both stickers. Both stickers should match. The earliest sampling time on both stickers. And then you'll stick it on the bottle, and then you will show your sampling sheet to the drop-off coordinator so they can write down what they need to write down and fill out what they need to fill out, and then put your samples in a cooler and take your bottles for the next event too. So labeling your bottles, fill in your name on the bottom dotted line, the date and the time of your earliest sample. So you can see here, 5/12/22, 6/17. This is Megan, who's a previous fellow. The S goes on the smallest bottle, and the other label goes on the largest bottle, nutrients bottle. So, supply pickup will be on May 4th between 9:30 and 11:30 in the morning. If that time doesn't work for you, please email marks@theponza.org to schedule another time for bottle pickup. Just let me know. There will also be an in-person training at that time. I will be there. So if you have any questions about it at all, please just reach out to me if you think of any questions between the time you watch this video and your sampling day, or if you complete your sampling and you still have questions, reach out to me with anything, and I will be happy to help. All right, thank you. Going to stop recording.